This call is being recorded.
Welcome to Ask With, everyone. Today with me I have Genius, and Genius and I are going to talk about one of my favorite subjects, which is diversity and inclusion, which for those of you who have been hanging out around me either personally or through this podcast lately, you know I love diversity and inclusion. So I'm going to Miss Genius take it away and explain more to you guys about what she does.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. As Wynn said, my name is Genesis Amaris Kemp. I am an author, a visionary, self-development advocate, inclusion and diversity enthusiast, and my book is entitled Chocolate Drop in Corporate America: From the Pit to the Palace. The book was released on May 27th last year, so in a global pandemic, and throughout my journey in the book, I talk about the experiences that I faced while working for a Fortune 500 company for the past 7.5 years, and how inclusion and diversity really became part of who I am and part of my purpose and passion. So, I dealt with a lot of corporate systemic racism, and that afforded me the ability to go through various trials and tribulations. But then, out of those trials and tribulations, I learned healthy ways to cope. And now I am talking about it boldly and courageous in order to ignite other people to share their stories by listening to my inspiration, motivation, and encouragement.
And if you could tell us, what did you suffer in corporate America? Did what?
So, in corporate America, I suffered systemic racism. I was also bullied by one supervisor, where it was so bad it was affecting my mental health as well as my performance, and just my overall well-being wasn't in a good place because I was dealing with a woman boss who did not like me for whatever reason it was, and she was literally making my life a living hell. So that's a form of workplace bullying. And then I went through pay disparity, where I was the only one on my team that was categorized differently, and my pay was substantially different than my peers. So I was doing the work of a professional, but they were paying me as an administrative assistant. And mind you, in 2013, I started with the company as an administrative assistant. And fast forwarding, in 2017, that was whenever I made the leap from an administrative role into a professional role, but they never converted my salary.
Wow. Wow. All I have to say is wow. Because you started and then moved up, and then they kept you at the same salary.
Yes, until I was bold and I spoke up in the supply chain vice president's meeting, and I shared my personal struggles with racism in my personal life as well as professionally. And a week later, I got a 20% increase. But why couldn't that 20% increase came whenever I converted to my first professional role? So had I not spoken up about what was taking place at work, would they have paid me my 20% increase?
Probably not. Probably not, because that that sounds similar to me actually. When I left corporate America, I for those of you I lost for those of you who are new to this, I lost my job as a teacher um, in March because of the pandemic. I flew back from a business trip that had nothing to do with teaching, but I flew back, and then we went into lockdown back in March. So by March 13th, I was pivoting out of corporate America. And, I had to beg and plead for a Christmas bonus, number one, and I had to beg and plead them to give me a higher rate, which never happened because of insurance purposes. And so I don't think they, even if insurance would allow, I don't think they would have paid me my high rate either.
And it just bothers me that the fact that, okay, they know that you are doing a superb job. They know that you're meeting your metrics, your KPIs, key performance
Yeah.
indicators, and your work speaks for itself. But why is it that we have to always be the ones to advocate for ourselves in order to get what we are deserved? And I feel like corporations need to do a better job at making sure their employees are happy, because if their employees are happy and satisfied, they are going to want to work harder because they know, okay, my company sees me, they value me, and they want me here for a long run. But whenever an individual does not feel that, and they start to have feelings of dissatisfaction, they start to have feelings of I don't really care, and then they have thoughts of, okay, let me start looking for something else where I can go and I know that I will be valued, I will be paid what I'm worth, and I have more benefits. So we definitely have to like reverse the scale. And I definitely think that corporations need to do a better job with inclusion and diversity as a whole, because right now they're just taking it as a check the box exercise, meaning they're going to do only what is the bare minimum to show their shareholders as well as their competitors that, yes, we are inclusive and diverse. But once you're in the inside looking out, you're like, where is the inclusion? Where is the diversity? So we really have to break down what is inclusion and diversity, why does it matter, and why do we as individuals as well as a corporation have to do a better job to ensure that everyone is happy.
Amen, sister. Preach, preach. Loud and clear. Amen. I completely, totally agree with you because it's a real check the box exercise to say, okay, we've hired a Black person, we've hired a disabled person, and we are meeting our KPIs, key performance indicators, and meeting our metrics to do that. But then once you dig deep, it's like, now what?
Exactly, when. And I guess if I would help the listeners who may be listening now or later, let's break down inclusion and diversity. So, whenever you think of diversity, diversity is having a variety of people from different cultures, different backgrounds, different ethnicities. That makes up your diversity. When you have people that are different, inclusion is whenever you make sure those people that are different are not just seen, but they are also heard. So, here are some examples of how we can participate in inclusivity. Working mothers, make sure they have the necessary resources whenever they are repatriating back into the workforce, like a nursing room, like if they need to nurse or pump their breast milk, have a place for them to store their breast milk, have a machine for them to pump, and then they could bring their own supplies or whatever for sanitary reasons. But that's one way that you could help working mothers that are repatriating back to the organization, and let them know that it's okay for you to leave at a set time so you could have a balance with work and home, because we know that you are now a new mother. Okay, then making sure people who have disabilities, whether those disabilities are physical disabilities or invisible disabilities, do you have the proper resources in place for those individuals? Do you have lower sinks to accommodate people who are smaller? Do you have ramps for those who need ADA accessibility? Do you have, routes outlined for those who have disabilities in case there was a fire drill or in case they needed to evacuate the building? Then, as far as food inclusivity, there's different people who have various food preferences due to their religion or due to their health reasons. Do you have enough variations in the cafeteria in order to show that you are inclusive? Then, whenever you talk about different groups, whether it's someone's sexual orientation, LGBTQ, whether it's two mothers or two fathers, are those people being included, or are you looking at them differently because of who they choose to be in relationship with? Whenever they who they're in relationship with does not affect their work performance, so I don't think it's any of the corporation's business. But you do need to make sure you are using the proper pronouns to make sure that individual is not offended. Then whenever you talk about, ERGs, which are employee resource groups, there's corporations that have various ones, some for the Blacks, some for the Hispanics, the Latinos, and etc., some for the Asians, Middle Eastern, or whatever. Why don't we stop dividing those groups of minorities and bringing them together in a group so we could hear what the common themes are and the problems with all minorities? That way we could partner them with an ally sponsor so that ally sponsor could take up the feedback, the complaints, the kudos, and etc. to upper management that looks like them. We really need to do a better job to promote inclusivity along with diversity. And then let's not forget about E squared, which is equality and equity. All of those four components need to work together in order to produce a thriving environment.
Well, I agree with you, and that's why I left corporate America, because I was pushed to the side in corporate America, and then I said to corporate America bye bye because I couldn't handle it anymore. I mean, I am disabled. I have 4 disabilities to boot. I am also gay, which doesn't help the cause. I'm also a woman, which doesn't help the cause either. So I finally, the straw that broke the camel's back was when I had to beg for my Christmas bonus. I finally said, bye bye, I'm out of here because you guys are not supporting me and you guys are not leading up to diversity and inclusion.
So, when with you identifying with four disabilities, whenever you left your job in corporate America, I know you said you were a teacher. Did you have an exit strategy to tell them, okay, I was appreciative of the time here, but this is why I'm leaving, and these are some tips that you could do to improve? Like, did you tell them, I felt like I didn't have a rightful place, being disabled, having maybe a physical or indivisible disability, being, you know, gay, and then dealing with the other things that you were dealing with? Did you leave them with feedback so they can look for ways to improve so they know, okay, she didn't just leave for, no apparent reason. There was a reason why she left, and this is something that we need to take in consideration. Or did you just leave and say, to hell with it?
I I didn't burn the bridge. Let's just put it that way. I didn't burn the bridge, and I wanted to give them feedback, but at the time they were so consumed by dealing with the pandemic because they were transitioning to online teaching that I didn't want to leave them with my feedback. Now, now looking back on it, I could still send my boss an email and say, look, this is the feedback I have left. But I think because we were all so concerned by the pandemic and what was going on in 2020, in March of 2020, that I didn't even think about leaving feedback. And it's not like they were going to listen to me anyway. I got hired under a totally different boss, and I swear that he hired me because he felt sorry for me. And then I left under a totally different boss who didn't want anything to do with me. He wanted to shove me in the corner of the room and make me do admin tasks, which I hated.
Okay. So those are very valid points, and it helps me understand more as an inclusion and diversity enthusiast. But I would also encourage you, even though that 2020 is gone and you left, and whether or not they will take the feedback, I would encourage you to still send the feedback to your boss as well as the people higher than your boss, so they are aware of the situation. Because at this point, there's nothing there for you to lose, but I do think that they need to hear the feedback so they know what areas they need to improve on. But I would say good for you for recognizing your worth and your value, because if you're in a place where you don't feel like you're able to thrive, you're not happy or etc., that's when it's time to cut the ties and just move on. And that is so important for mental, physical, and emotional well-being. And it just saddens me to hear that not only do you have the issues of inclusion and diversity in oil and gas, but you have it in the education sector as well as other sectors. But it's so important that we have these healthy discussions like you and I are having, so we can help other people who may have went through something similar that you and I went through, no matter if it's race related, sexism, disability related, sexual orientation related. They are all forms of things that we as individuals endure. And if we're not bold and courageous to talk about it, then where will society be? So it takes people like you and I to say, okay, it's time for us to do more in this space. It's time for us to challenge the status quo. It's time for us to share our stories, because there's so much power in sharing your stories. Because I tell people, your trials and tribulations become your testimonies. Your testimonies are there to encourage other people. And once you are encouraging other people, it's helping to break the chains of bondage, break the chains of limitations, and it helps people overcome those barriers.
Yes, and I will always be working as a journalist for the rest of my life. I will always be on the beat of journalism. I will never, ever, 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 ever go back into education. And people in my inner circle know that I will never, ever go back into education unless, and this is only unless, I can find a supportive environment. But right now, I am happy as clam in journalism. Thank you very much.
That's beautiful. So with journalism and in regards to MySpace, um, have you had the chance to listen to me on other podcasts, or read any inserts of my book that just really sparked an interest in you, and be like, hey, I really want to learn more, or I could totally resonate where Genesis is coming from?
I haven't, but I will listen to yours and work because diversity and inclusion is my jam, and the fact that you and I are doing diversity and inclusion here today, um, I think that's amazing. I think that's amazing. I really don't have time right now due to um, a move that's going to happen. I am slowly but surely investigating places, and I'm 99% positive I'm moving. But I really don't have time right now to put journalism at the forefront. But as soon as I get to the other end of my move, I will put journalism at the forefront, and I will be listening to Genesis work along with all the other podcasts because I think let's support the different cultures and let's support what you're going to be you, because we're all made of different backgrounds. And so the facts that Genesis and I are having detailed conversation about diversity and inclusion, I think that's fascinating. But at the same time, I know I have to support all these other people to get the point across.
Beautiful. I just love that win. And so, whenever we really talk about inclusion and diversity, let's really think about some ways that we could help push the needle forward in inclusion and diversity. How can we become more bold and courageous to talk about inclusion and diversity? How can we call out unconscious biases and microaggressions to remove the ignorant thinking of individuals who really don't understand what inclusion and diversity, and they don't really see it because they're so busy stuck in their own environment. And I think whenever people are like that, we really have to challenge them to see it from a different perspective, because if not, they're going to continue to practice their bad behaviors, and then the vicious cycle is going to continually repeat. So, what I've been encouraging people to do in the IND space is to educate yourself, learn how to embrace and celebrate people that are different from you, whether they're different in sexual orientation, whether they're different in religion, whether they're different in the color of their skin. Don't let external factors be a reason why you cannot build a lasting partnership as well as relationship with someone who may not necessarily look like you. Yes, it's okay to disagree with someone respectfully, and you should break down why you don't agree with what they're saying, but don't say, "Oh, it's my way or the highway," because then you're shutting off someone that could give you wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to help you improve as an individual. So we need to be open minded. We need to listen attentively so we can learn and grow. And we need to stop making assumptions, because when you make assumptions, it makes it ASS out of you and I, because it shows that, okay, we're already putting up a wall. We're not trying to change. We're not trying to learn. And you have to think about it this way. If society is continuing to evolve, then shouldn't we evolve as individuals? There's so much new things that, so the more things are changing in the world, the more we need to change in order to adapt, thrive, and soar. Because if you're trying to reach an equal status, you shouldn't be hanging around with chickens. Meaning, sometimes we need to take a look at ourselves as well as the people that we hang around with. Are the people that we're hanging around with, are they narrow-minded? Are they limited thinkers, meaning they don't want to see beyond the horizon. They don't want to have a vision and make the necessary steps in order to ensure that that vision manifests. Because if so, those are people that, we need to weed out of our circle, because when we're trying to achieve higher, we need to surround ourselves with people who are eagles, who want to soar and achieve their dreams. Then we need.
I so agree, because I'm a visionary. People know that I'm a problem solver, but I am moving away from the situation of, let's just say, a stuck thinker, and I have one stuck thinker in my life, and you guys will find that out later who and why. Um, and I am moving away from that one stuck person who doesn't want to see the forest for the trees, to put it mildly. And you guys will figure out later why I say that. But I highly agree that let's put ourselves with the people that want to take us higher as we take them higher.
Yep, it's so important and it's so needed. And it goes to say, that too when we also have to practice self-care and self-awareness. Make sure you're taking care of yourself first, mentally, physically, and emotionally, before you exhaust yourself taking care of other people who in reality aren't trying to build you up as an individual. Because if not, then we're going to reach the point of burnt out. And if we're burnt out, what good are we to ourselves or other people if we can't even, achieve or balance our own life?
Yep. Yep, exactly. So, Genesis, where can people find you and where can people get a hold of that book?
I'm on Facebook as Genesis, that's Genesis, Amaris, Amaris, last name Kemp, Kemp. I have an author page under Chocolate Drop in Corporate America. You could reach me via email at genesisamarisKemp@gmail.com. And if you are interested in purchasing Chocolate Drop in Corporate America, From the Pit to the Palace, it is available on Amazon in paperback for $13, on Kindle for $2.99, as well as Kindle Unlimited. It can be purchased from two bookstores currently, which are Book Mecca, that's Mecca, and Shelves Bookstore. More bookstores will be carrying it soon, but once I get that information, I will post it on my social media. And if you're looking at a video or a graphic, you could see the cover of my book has a blue background. It has a world. The world represents that issues happen worldwide, not just in America. And the cover of my book shows a variety of individuals from different ethnicities as well as careers, to let people know that inclusion and diversity starts with all of us coming together to bridge the gap and to close the loop. So we need one another to make this world an extraordinary space. And we need to embrace other people's skills and talents and not just look at them for their outward appearance. So it's so important that the cover of my book showed inclusion and diversity as well. So don't let the title of the book derail you. And the reason why I called my book Chocolate Drop in Corporate America is because I am that chocolate drop. I'm embracing my melon. And I didn't want to say Black or African American because it's thrown around so loosely. So I wanted to say something sweet that everyone could resonate with,
Yeah.
chocolate, and drop, because everyone likes chocolate, whether it's dark chocolate, milk chocolate, vanilla chocolate, or whatever. And with me being in corporate America, it's called in corporate America, since I do work in corporate America. Until next week, I'll be pivoting. And the subtitle, From the Pit to the Palace, is to show representation that you could be in a pit part of your life. You could be going through darkness, but don't allow that darkness that is temporary to cause you to remain in a permanent state. So sometimes you have to go through the darkness in order to appreciate the light later on. So that's why it says from the pit to the palace. I'm thankful for the dark seasons because they strengthened me mentally, physically, and emotionally. And now I'm appreciative of the light that I'm walking in and my palace.
Well, I love it. I love it, you guys. And go support Genesis. Go pick up a book. Go pick up my book. Go pick up all diversity books that you can. My book being I Come a Win. And so please, 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 let's just make this world a better place. And I appreciate you guys listening. And I hope to see you guys next week. And we'll have more amazing interviews coming out. And then we'll see you guys on the journey of move and move to a brighter, better spot for me. And then once I figure out, I will let you guys know. But other than that, please make this world a better place and include everyone. Thanks to you guys. Bye, you guys.